Is Chicago really the Windy City?
Chicago is not the windiest city in the United States. Chicago's average wind speed of 10.4 miles 16.7 kilometers per hour is beat by Boston, 12.5 20.1. Honolulu, 11.3 18.2, Dallas and Kansas City, both 10.7 17.2, and especially in the true Windy City, MT. Washington, New Hampshire, 35.3 56.8.
What is the difference between magma and lava?
Magma is hot, liquefied rock that lies underneath the surface of the earth. When magma erupts or flows from a volcano onto the Earth's surface, it becomes lava. There is no difference in substance, only the name changes.
What is the largest church building in the world?
The Mormon Church LDS Conference Center in Salt Lake City, Utah, is the largest church building, having over 1.4 million square feet, 130,000 square meters.
What's the difference between the old emergency broadcast system and the emergency alert system?
The Emergency Broadcast System, EBS, created in 1964 to warn the country of a national emergency such as nuclear attack, became the Emergency Alert Service, EAS. In 1997, the old EBS system relied on one primary radio station in each region to receive an emergency message and then broadcast it to the public and other media outlets. The new system, which also includes cable television, operates via computer and can be automatically and immediately broadcast to the public. It also allows additional local governmental agencies the opportunity to broadcast emergency messages. Future plans for the EAS include radios and televisions that will automatically turn on when an alert is announced.
How were animals first domesticated?
Dogs were probably some of the first animals to become domesticated. Wild dogs probably came close to human villages scavenging for food and were quickly trained as companions and protectors. Over time, early agriculturalists realized the value of domesticating other animals and proceeded to do so. Many different kinds of animals were domesticated in different areas of the world.
Military attacked or occupied since the beginning of the year 2000.
The has invaded or occupied 14 foreign lands since 2000, including Macedonia, Afghanistan, Yemen, Philippines, Colombia, Iraq, Liberia, Haiti, Pakistan, Somalia, Georgia, Djibouti, Côte d'Ivoire, and Sierra Leone.
Why did the sun never set on the British Empire?
In the early 20th century, the United Kingdom included colonies from North and South America, Canada, British Guiana, and Bermuda, Africa, Egypt, South Africa, and Nigeria, Asia, India and Burma, and Oceania, Australia and New Zealand. Because the British Empire spanned the globe, there was always at least one portion of the empire in daylight.
Why do third world countries no longer exist?
The term Third World was part of the classification of countries during the Cold War. This classification designated those countries aligned with the United States as First World, those countries aligned with the Soviet Union as Second World, and those countries that were non-aligned as Third World. Over time, the term Third World came to mean a poorer or less developed country. With the dissolution of the Soviet Union, and the acceptance of democracy in Russia and Eastern Europe, the classification no longer exists. The preferred terms are now developed countries and less developed, or developing, countries.
How much market share does Russia's national airline, Aeroflot, have?
For domestic flights, Aeroflot has a 23% market share of all domestic travel in Russia. Nearly 10 million people fly Aeroflot each year. Siberian Airlines handles more than 3.5 million passengers each year.
What is a Reich?
The word Reich literally means empire in German. The First Reich is considered to be the Holy Roman Empire from 800 to 1806 CE. The Second Reich was Germany. United under Otto von Bismarck, from 1871 to 1918. In 1933, Adolf Hitler established the Third Reich. The Nazi regime, which lasted until the defeat of Germany at the end of World War II, in 1945.
What is the difference between small and large-scale maps?
A small-scale map shows a small amount of detail over a wide area, such as the world. A large-scale map shows a large amount of detail while representing a limited area, such as neighborhoods or towns.
What was the last Central American country to obtain its independence?
In 1981, Belize, formerly known as British Honduras, became the last North American country to obtain independence.
What is Micronesia?
The region known as Micronesia consists of islands east of the Philippines, west of the international date line, north of the equator, and south of the Tropic of Cancer. Approximately 600 of the islands in this area united in 1986 to form an independent country, the Federated States of Micronesia. Though 600 islands join the Federation, there are approximately 1,500 other islands in the region, including the independent countries of the Marshall Islands, Kiribati, and Palau.
What was Babylonia?
Babylonia was an ancient country along the Euphrates River, in what is now Iraq. It began in the 21st century BCE and was led by King Hammurabi in the 18th century BCE.
If I keep walking in a straight line, will the Coriolis effect cause me to veer?
If your body were completely symmetrical, and no one's is, and neither leg were longer and you were walking on perfectly flat land, then yes, you might start veering due to the Coriolis effect.
What is the best shape for a country?
Though countries come in various shapes for various reasons, the best shape for a country is compact. A compact country, such as Germany or France, is easier to govern than those that are fragmented, such as Indonesia, or elongated, such as Chile. Compact countries are easier to govern because transportation, communication, and inter-NAL security are easier to maintain. Also, compact countries have shorter borders to protect. Elongated and fragmented countries are more easily divided and conquered.
Who was John Wesley Powell?
Though he lost an arm in the Civil War, John Wesley Powell became one of the leading surveyors of the 19th century. In 1869, Powell explored the Grand Canyon, traveling on a boat along the Colorado River. He faced dangerous rapids, hostile Native Americans, and weather extremes. In 1880, Powell was appointed the second director of the United States Geological Survey.
What are ice ages?
Throughout the life of the planet, the climate has warmed and cooled many times. During the cooling periods, ice ages have occurred. During the ice ages, large sheets of ice cover large portions of land. In the most recent ice age, which ended about 10,000 years ago, large parts of northern Europe and North America were covered by ice sheets.
Were the Romans the only civilization to develop water resources in an advanced way?
No, recent excavations in Henan province in China uncovered a network of clay pipes built during the Eastern Zhou dynasty, 1122 to 256 B. CE. The pipes were connected to many reservoirs around the cities. This use of technology may actually predate Roman waterworks.
Why is color important on a relief map?
A relief map portrays various elevations in different colors. But, a common color scheme found on relief maps causes a problem. On these maps, mountains are displayed as red or brown while lowlands are shown in shades of green. This is confusing because the green areas on the map are often misconstrued as fertile land while brown areas are mistaken for deserts. For example, an area such as California's Death Valley, which is shown in green on relief maps because it lies below sea level, seems fertile, when actually it is an inhospitable desert.
What is a good way to learn where places are?
The best way to learn about places that you have heard of is to look them up in an updated atlas. An atlas is a collection of maps bound in a book. It may include additional information, such as illustrations, statistical tables, topography, and other important information about a place or places. If you like to use the internet, you may try to enter the place in the search box at your favorite search engine, and then click on the results. You will be surprised by the amount of information you can find.
Why does the ground sink?
In many places over the world, seemingly solid land lies over vast oil deposits or water aquifers. Without the liquid supporting it, the ground sinks into the space left behind. In some parts of California's Imperial Valley, the land has dropped more than 25 feet. 7.6 meters, due to underground water being removed from the area. Unless the pumping of underground water and oil is stopped, the land will continue to sink.
Does India have a population control program similar to China's?
Though India does not limit births to one child per family, it does have one of the oldest population control programs in the world. The program, begun in the 1950s, encourages the use of birth control and family planning. And the Indian government provides grants to people who undergo sterilization surgeries. Though India's population is growing more slowly, 1.46%, the world's population growth rate is still lower, at 1.17%.
What is nuclear winter?
A nuclear winter is what would follow a large-scale nuclear war. Radioactive particles, dust, and smoke released into the atmosphere would create a large cloud over the planet, blocking out sunlight and reducing temperatures worldwide. Plants and animals would die due to the extremely low temperatures. An extended nuclear winter could cause the death of millions of people from starvation, cold, and other problems.
What does the scale of a map tell me?
A scale indicates the level of detail and defines the distances between objects on a map. On a map, scales can be written as a fraction, a verbal description, or as a bar scale. A fraction, or ratio, using the example of 1/100,000 or 1:100,000, indicates that one unit of any form of measurement on the map is equivalent to 100,000 units of the same measurement in the area being represented. For instance, if you use inches as the unit of measurement, then 1 inch on the map would equal 100,000 inches in the area represented by the map. A verbal description describes the relationship as if it were a verbal instruction, such as 1 inch equals 1 mile. This allows the versatility of having different units of measurement. A bar scale uses a graphic to show the relationship between distance on the map to distance in the area represented. The bar scale is the only type of scale that allows a reduction or enlargement of the map without distorting the scale. This is because when you increase the size of the map, the bar scale is increased proportionally. For a fraction or verbal scale, the proportion, 1:1,000, is only true for the map at that size. For example, when enlarging a map, the map might become twice as large but the numbers in a ratio do not change, as they would need to in order to stay accurate.
How much of Mexico's population lives in Mexico City?
Approximately 1/4 of Mexico's population lives in Mexico City's metropolitan area. Mexico City, Mexico's capital. is the largest metropolitan area in the Western Hemisphere, with a population of 19 million.
What percentage of American households regularly give to charitable organizations?
Approximately 89% of American households give to charitable organizations. On average, they give $1,620, donating $295 billion annually altogether.
What was the first city to have more than 1 million people?
During ancient times, Rome was the world's first city to have a population larger than 1 million. Rome's population declined during the fall of the Roman Empire in the 5th century. And a city with a population of 1 million wasn't again seen until the early 19th century in London.
What cities have the most crime in the United States?
According to major rankings, Detroit, Michigan, Camden, New Jersey, St. Louis, Missouri, and Oakland, California have the most crime.
What was the Rainbow Warrior?
In 1985, the Greenpeace ship Rainbow Warrior was in the Auckland, New Zealand harbor when it exploded and sank, killing one Greenpeace staff member. It was later discovered that French secret agents planted bombs on board the Rainbow Warrior. In order to stop the organization from protesting French nuclear weapon tests in the Pacific. Following the incident, the French Minister of Defense and head of the Secret Service were forced to resign. New Zealand, a country very much opposed to nuclear weapons, maintained a poor relationship with France for many years following the bombing.
What is the largest city in the Amazon River Basin?
Manaus, Brazil, is the largest city in the basin, with a population of just over 1.6 million. Manaus is the capital of Brazil's largest state, Amazonas, and is a major trading center for the region. When the Amazon basin was the only known source of rubber, Manaus experienced a boom, but subsequently declined in importance due to the planting of rubber in other regions of the world. Manaus has since recovered by becoming a duty-free trade area of 1.6 million people.
What is the largest office building in the world?
The United States is home to the largest office building in the world, the Pentagon, which has 3.7 million square feet, 343,730 square meters, of space under its roof. The Pentagon is home to the country's Department of Defense.
What is a low-high temperature and a high-low temperature?
When meteorologists look at daily temperature, there is always a low and a high temperature for each day. If the high temperature is the coldest high temperature for that day or for the month, you have a new record, a new low high. Conversely, if the low temperature for a day is quite warm and breaks records, that's a new high low.
Where is the southernmost glacier in Europe?
The southernmost European glacier is also high atop the Apennines, near Corno Grande. Due to global warming, it has lost a significant amount of its mass.
What was the world's first skyscraper?
Completed in 1885 in Chicago, Illinois. The Home Insurance Company building was the world's first skyscraper.
What is Mercosur?
The Southern Cone Common Market, also known as Mercosur, is a trade group that includes Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. It was established in 1995 to reduce trade barriers between those four countries and to promote economic unity.
What is South Korea's national slogan?
The national slogan of South Korea is "The Land of the Morning Calm."
What is the Mercalli scale?
The Mercalli scale measures the power of an earthquake as felt by humans and structures. It was developed in 1902 by Italian geologist Giuseppe Mercalli. The Mercalli scale is written in Roman numerals and it ranges from I, barely felt, to 12, catastrophic. The Mercalli scale can be mapped surrounding an epicenter and will vary based on the geology of an area.
How many oceans are there?
The seas and oceans of the world are actually one big world ocean because they are connected. Most of the time the world ocean is divided into four main parts: the Pacific, Indian, Atlantic, and Arctic. By far the largest is the Pacific Ocean, more than twice the size of the Atlantic. The Indian is third in size, followed by the tiny Arctic Ocean.
What was East Timor?
East Timor, its former name, is now the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste, a country adjacent to the most eastern province of Indonesia. After being under the control of Portugal for 4 centuries, the region came under Indonesian rule. Later, in 1975, East Timor declared independence. Indonesia consequently invaded, killing about 100,000 people. In 1991, the international community condemned Indonesia for this end. The additional massacres and human rights violations that followed. Indonesia eventually relinquished control of East Timor, and Timor-Leste became an independent republic in 2002. With a per capita GDP of less than $800 per year. Timor-Leste is one of the poorest countries in the world.
How many illegal immigrants are there in the United States?
Some estimates take into account responses to the U.S. Census survey, pegging the number at approximately 11.3 million people.
How many countries end in the suffix stan?
There are 8. 6 are former republics of the Soviet Union: Kazakhstan, Turkestan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. Afghanistan and Pakistan are the 2 others.
When was the Gregorian calendar adopted in the United States?
Though Catholic countries switched to the Gregorian calendar in the 16th century, Protestant countries, such as England and its colonies, refused to switch from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar at that time. It wasn't until 1752 that Britain and its colonies, including the colonies that soon thereafter became the United States, switched to the Gregorian calendar. By that time, there was an 11-day difference in time, so September 3, 1752, became September 14, 1752.
Who owns all of those islands in the Pacific Ocean?
There are hundreds of islands in the Pacific Ocean. While many are part of independent countries, others remain colonies or vestiges of colonial empires.
How can GIs help my town?
Your community can use GIs on a day-to-day basis and in emergency situations.
Why do houses fall into sinkholes?
Houses that sit upon limestone rock have the proclivity to fall into sinkholes. As underground water wears away the limestone rock, it creates underground caverns. If the water wears away too much limestone, the cavern may collapse, taking anything on the surface with it. A sinkhole is just one of the many reasons to have your home inspected by a geologist.
Are there any new discoveries of cities that predate Mesopotamian urban areas?
Every year, scientists uncover evidence of cities long ago flooded by the rising sea and reclamation of coastline, where archaeological evidence suggests cities even older than those in the Sumer Valley once existed. A recent marine archaeological expedition uncovered traces of a city beneath the sea off the coast of Gujarat, in northwestern India, and found pieces of carved wood that was carbon dated to 7500 BCE.
Does the Earth spin at a constant rate?
The rotation of the Earth actually has slight variations. Motion and activity within the Earth, such as friction due to tides, wind, and other forces, change the speed of the planet's rotation a little. These changes only amount to milliseconds over hundreds of years but do cause people who keep exact time to make corrections every few years.
Why does Greenland appear larger on most maps than it actually is?
Because of the distortions that must appear on all maps. Many maps place the distortion in the northern and southern extremes of the Earth. In one of the common projections, known as Mercator, Greenland appears to be similar in size to South America, despite the fact that South America is actually 8 times larger than Greenland. The advantage of the Mercator projection is that the lines of latitude and longitude remain perpendicular. Thus the map is useful for navigation.
What do deserts and polar regions have in common?
Deserts and polar regions both have average rainfall of less than 4 inches. 10 centimeters, per year. They are both the driest places on Earth.
How important is China to the biodiversity in the world?
China's territory covers 3,705,390 square miles, 9,596,960 square kilometers, of land. This vast expanse includes a wide diversity of wildlife. as well as 10% of the world's plants with stems, roots, and leaves. Therefore, China's policies for managing its natural resources are very important for the health of the planet.
How much does an employee of a maquiladora earn?
Border factories prefer to employ women, who tend not to challenge poor working conditions and can be paid as little as 1/6 of what workers can make north of the border in the United States. This is approximately $1.00/hour, with most workers forced to work on average 48 hours per week.
What is the Fujita scale of tornado intensity?
The Fujita scale measures the strength of a tornado based on observed damage and effects. The scale ranges from F0, a weak tornado, through F6, an almost inconceivable tornado, having close to no chance of actually occurring. About 75% of all tornadoes are weak, F0 F1, while only 1% are violent, F4 F5.
What were the 7 wonders of the ancient world?
While there was often disagreement by ancient and classical scholars as to which major works of art and architecture could be considered wonders, these 7 were nearly always on the list. The pyramids of Egypt, the only remaining wonder, the Colossus of Rhodes, on the island of Rhodes in Greece. The Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, a marble temple in Turkey, the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus. Bodrum, Turkey, the statue of Zeus at Olympia, an ivory and gold statue in southwestern Greece. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, an enormous garden building, with plants of every kind, near Al-Hilla, Iraq, and the Lighthouse of Alexandria, on the island of Pharos, near Alexandria, Egypt.
How wide is a degree of latitude?
Though there are only about a dozen lines of latitude shown on most globes and world maps, the Earth is actually divided into 180 lines of latitude. The distance between each line of latitude is called a degree. Each degree is an equal distance apart, at 69 miles, 111 kilometers.
How does the boiling point of water help determine altitude?
The boiling point of water at sea level is 212 degrees Fahrenheit. The boiling point drops about 1 degree for every 500 foot, 152 meter, increase in altitude. Therefore, in Denver, at 5,280 feet, 1,609 meters, above sea level, Denver is called the Mile High City because there are 5,280 feet in a mile. Water boils at about 202 degrees. The change in the boiling point is why cooking instructions are modified for higher altitudes.
How does land turn into desert?
The process known as desertification is complicated and results from such activities as overgrazing, inefficient irrigation systems, and deforestation. It is most widespread in the Sahel region of Africa. A strip of land along the southern margin of the Sahara Desert. The Sahara grows larger because of desertification. Desertification can be reversed by changing agricultural practices and by replanting forests.
What other countries have disputes over lines drawn on maps?
Japan, China, and Taiwan all have a dispute over the Diaoyu/Senkaku Islands in the Pacific Ocean. India and Pakistan have an ongoing dispute over ownership of the northernmost region of Kashmir in India. China has disputed claims of sovereignty by Taiwan. North and South Korea are still in conflict over lines drawn by Korean and American forces that split the country in two.
Where is Acadiana?
In 1755, the British took control of Acadie, New Brunswick, Canada, and exiled the city's inhabitants. Forced to leave their homes, these people, known as Acadians, moved to Louisiana. The Acadians are still present in Louisiana and their culture has produced famed food and music, called Cajun. The area in southern Louisiana where the Acadians still live is termed Acadiana.
Where is South America's population clustered?
The population of South America is approximately 371 million, 23% higher than the United States. In South America, much of the population is found along the Atlantic coast. Brazil's Atlantic coast is home to two of the world's largest urban areas: São Paulo, 18.84 million people, and Rio de Janeiro, 11.75 million people. Buenos Aires, Argentina, 12.8 million people, is also a major urban area on the Atlantic coast.
What is a tributary?
Any stream that flows into another stream is a tributary. Most major rivers have hundreds of tributaries, which on a map look like branches of a tree. One classification system of rivers is based upon the number of tributaries a river has.
Where is the farthest point from an ocean?
In northern China lies a spot that is over 1,600 miles, 2,574 kilometers, from any ocean. Located at 46 degrees 17 minutes north, 86 degrees 40 minutes east, the land is equidistant from the Arctic Ocean, Indian Ocean, and Pacific Ocean.
How is northern Canada gaining elevation?
During the Ice Ages, thick ice sheets covered northern Canada, including Hudson Bay, pushing the continent down by the sheer force of the extreme weight of the ice. Ever since the melting of the ice sheets at the end of the Ice Age, the ground has been rising a few inches each year.
What is the northernmost landmass in the world?
Cape Morris Jesup, located in Greenland's Peary Land, is the northernmost point of land in the world. The cape is at 83 degrees 38 minutes north.
How old is the oldest known map?
Circa 2700 B. CE, the Sumerians drew sketch maps in clay tablets that represented their cities. These maps are the oldest known maps.
Which states are earthquake-free?
While a 20-year period isn't an excellent indicator, there were 4 states that had no earthquakes between 1975 and 1995, Florida, Iowa, North Dakota, and Wisconsin.
Where is the French Riviera?
The French Riviera, also known as Côte d'Azur, is located in southeastern France, near the border with Italy, along the Mediterranean Sea. The French Riviera is a major vacation spot for Europeans. With its mild Mediterranean climate and beautiful scenery, the tiny country of Monaco is located within the French Riviera, and adds to the Riviera's image of luxury with the multitude of casinos and hotels at Monte Carlo.
What's the big red rock in the middle of Australia?
The big, red, sandstone monolith in the center of Australia is called Uluru. Its indigenous name, it was previously called Ayers Rock. It is the world's largest monolith, approximately 1.5 miles. 2.4 kilometers, wide and 1/5 of a mile, 1,100 feet 335 meters, high.
What is the Fertile Crescent?
The Fertile Crescent is an area located in a crescent-shaped region between the Persian Gulf in the east and Israel in the west. The development of this region, located along the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, was begun thousands of years ago and was based on the availability of water from these rivers and the fertile soil they deposited. This area was a center of human civilization and was the location of the ancient Mesopotamian Empire.
What was the United Arab Republic?
In 1958, non-neighbors Egypt and Syria united to form the country known as the United Arab Republic. This lasted only until 1961, when Syria decided to become independent. Even after the dissolution, Egypt kept the name United Arab Republic for a decade.
Why isn't Taiwan recognized by the U.S. government?
The People's Republic of China has had a dispute with Taiwan since the nationalists, who were fighting the communists on the mainland, fled to Taiwan at the end of World War II. Decades later, as China became more powerful in the eyes of various American political administrations, China gave the United States a choice: recognize China or Taiwan. But not both. The United States chose China, although officially not recognized. Taiwan is one of the United States' strongest allies in the region, and one of its most significant trading partners. Taiwan has very close official and unofficial ties with the United States.
What are the Seven Hills of Rome?
The city of Rome sits upon 7 hills: Capitoline, Quirinal, Viminal, Esquiline, Caelian, Aventine, and Palatine. According to ancient legend, the first settlement in the area, the city of Romulus, was built upon Palatine.
How many businesses are started each year in the United States?
Each year, more than 600,000 new companies are started in America, joining the more than 24.7 million companies that make the American economy the largest in the world. Most companies, 99.9%, have fewer than 500 employees.
What is Bollywood?
Known as Bollywood, Mumbai, India, previously called Bombay, is the world's movie capital. The entertainment industry in India produces more than 1,000 films annually, which is much more than the United States.
What is the largest building in the world, in terms of usable space?
The Boeing plant in Everett, Washington, has over 4.3 million square feet, 398,000 square meters, of space. It is followed by Airbus Industries' A380 assembly plant near Toulouse, France. With 1,320,000 square feet, 122,500 square meters, area in Brandenburg, Germany. With 753,000 square feet, 70,000 square meters, and the NASA Vehicle Assembly Building in Brevard County, Florida, at 384,000 square feet, 32,374 square meters.
Where is the world's largest church?
The Basilica of Our Lady of Peace in Yamoussoukro, Ivory Coast, is the world's largest church, covering 100,000 square feet, 9,290 square meters. Built in 1989 by President Félix Houphouët-Boigny, the church has seating for 18,000 people. In 1983, Houphouët-Boigny relocated the capital of the Ivory Coast from Abidjan to his hometown of Yamoussoukro.
What did the domino effect have to do with United States involvement in the Vietnam War?
American military strategists believed that if one country became communist, it would begin a never-ending succession of countries converting to communism, thus the domino metaphor. North Vietnam, at the time of the American invasion, was comprised primarily of communist and communist sympathizers, whereas South Vietnam was more democratic-leaning. Policymakers believed that the United States had to do everything possible to keep every country from falling to communism. This included sending American troops to Vietnam. Though Vietnam fell to the communists, the theory of the domino effect was proven incorrect because neighboring countries did not fall to communism as predicted. In fact, the U.S. war and policy toward Vietnam caused many adjacent countries to become even more fervently opposed to U.S. policy in the region. And some theorize that this contributed to turmoil and genocide in such countries as Cambodia and Laos.
Why did the Soviet Union invade Afghanistan in 1979?
The Soviet Union sent troops to Afghanistan in 1979 because it wanted to come to the aid of its ally. The Parcham faction, which was more moderate in its outlook toward moving the country towards communism. The Parchame faction had signed a treaty of friendship and cooperation with the USSR the previous year. The United States began to fund the Mujahideen resistance, who were opposed to both the Afghan government and the Soviet occupation. These same Mujahideen would later form the ideological core of the people who masterminded the attack on the World Trade Center in 2001. Between 600,000 and 2 million Afghanis were killed during the war, which lasted until 1989. Of the 600,000 Soviet troops who served in Afghanistan, 14,453 lost their lives and more than 469,000 became sick or were wounded. More than 5 million Afghanis were displaced and fled to Pakistan. Another 2 million Afghanis were displaced within their own country, seeking shelter from the violence of the war and the factional fighting that ensued.
Who are the Bedouin?
The Bedouins are nomadic tribes that have inhabited areas of the Middle East and Northern Africa for centuries, grazing their goat and camel herds. The Bedouins travel wide distances and frequently cross international borders. Many Middle Eastern countries are attempting to halt the crossings. If these countries are successful, the Bedouin culture would be dramatically changed and perhaps even completely destroyed.
Where does Los Angeles get its water?
Not much of the water in Los Angeles comes from local sources. Most of it is brought from hundreds of miles away. Large aqueducts, man-made channels used to transport water, were built to carry water from Owens Valley, in east-central California, from the Colorado River, and from the rivers of Northern California, to Los Angeles. Though this method has brought fresh water to a region that desperately needs it, it has also drained and damaged the ecologies that once depended on the water now being sapped from its supply.
Where does it rain the most?
Mt. Wailea, on the island Kauai in Hawaii, receives a whopping average of 472 inches. 1,200 centimeters, of rain a year. That's over 39 feet 12 meters of rain per year.
Of all the humans who have ever lived, what proportion of them are alive today?
Only a small percentage, anywhere from 5 to 10%, of the humans who have ever lived are alive today. Since humans have existed for approximately 100,000 years, the total number that have ever lived is probably between 60 billion and 120 billion.
Why is there such controversy about defining the tallest building in the world?
Most of the controversy about which building is the tallest centers around defining what is a building versus what is a structure. Some buildings, in order to be listed among the tallest buildings, add other non-habitable structures to the top in order to rise in the rankings. These structures may be in the form of communication towers, which can easily add significant height to the building.
Why does Bangladesh flood so often?
Given that most of Bangladesh's elevation is near sea level, and that it is located within the delta of the Ganges and Brahmaputra rivers, it is not remarkable that the country is easily flooded by regular monsoons, periodic winds and accompanying rainfall, and hurricanes. Unfortunately, Bangladesh also suffers from a poor emergency warning system. So people in Bangladesh are not adequately warned of impending disaster.
Did glaciers create the Great Lakes?
Yes, the Great Lakes are the world's largest lakes formed by glaciers. During the Pleistocene epoch, glaciers inched over the Great Lakes area, moving weak rock out of their way and leaving behind huge, carved basins. As the glaciers began to melt, the basins filled with water and created the Great Lakes.
How should we prepare for disaster?
Disasters can and do happen everywhere. You should prepare for disaster by having a disaster supply kit with supplies for you and everyone in your family available at home and work, as well as a mini kit in your automobile. It should include food, water, first aid equipment, sturdy shoes, an AM/FM radio with batteries kept outside of the radio, a flashlight, with batteries kept outside of the flashlight. Vital medication, especially prescription medication, blankets, cash, if the power and computers are down. Credit and ATM cards won't work, games and toys for children, and any other essentials. Contact your local chapter of the Red Cross for more information about disaster preparedness.
Where is Atlantis?
Atlantis, the legendary underwater utopia supposedly located west of the Pillars of Hercules. The land on either side of the Strait of Gibraltar, was first described by Plato in the 4th century B.C., before the Common Era, as a magnificent civilization that was swallowed by the sea. Though Plato believed Atlantis to have been destroyed, the legend has grown over the centuries to describe the civilization as an underwater kingdom. Researchers now believe that the legend of Atlantis was based on the ancient Minoan civilization that lived on the Greek islands of Thera and Crete, which disappeared after a volcanic eruption in the 16th century BCE. Thus, the Minoan civilization in Thera and Crete fits the approximate date of Atlantis's destruction, but not its supposed location.
How much did the population of New Orleans decline after Hurricane Katrina struck?
Although many residents returned in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans's population has declined by more than 53% since the 2005 disaster.
What is the world's largest tropical rainforest?
The Amazon forest is the world's largest tropical rainforest. It occupies 1/3 of Brazil's land area and receives over 80 inches, 200 centimeters, of rain a year. The rainforest loses 15,000 square miles, 38,850 square kilometers, of forest each year because of clear cutting. The Amazon rainforest is home to about 90% of the Earth's animal and plant species and is a major producer of the world's oxygen.
What criteria must an area meet to be considered an independent state?
State must be an independent country with its own land, government, permanent population, transportation system and economy, and it must have international recognition.
What two countries emerged from Czechoslovakia?
Czechoslovakia was created at the end of World War I, 1918, by the Allies as a new country containing the area where the Czechs and Slovaks live. In 1967 and 1968, Czechoslovakia attempted to move away from communism. But the Soviet Union and Warsaw Pact countries invaded, squelching such aspirations. This Prague Spring, as it was known, was the first military action taken by the countries of the Warsaw Pact.
What caused the Great Indian Ocean Tsunami of December 2004?
A magnitude 9.0 earthquake in the ocean off the coast of Sumatra, Indonesia, caused a reverberating swell of water to move toward Indonesia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, India, and the Maldives. Its effects were felt as far away as Africa, before it finally dissipated.
How many time zones does the United States have?
The United States spans 9 time zones: Eastern, Central, Mountain, Pacific, Alaska, Hawaii, Aleutian, Samoa, Wake Island, and Guam.
What is the Royal Flying Doctor Service?
Created in 1928, the Royal Flying Doctor Service, RFDS, is a charity organization established to provide healthcare and emergency services to the sparse population of Australia's outback. With 38 aircraft, the RFDS averages over 80 flights a day, helping more than 135,000 people per year.
What is the largest island in the United States?
The island of Hawaii is the largest island in the United States at 4,021 square miles. 10,414 square kilometers. Puerto Rico is the second largest at 3,435 square miles, 8,897 square kilometers.
What is the most populated urban area in the world?
The capital city of Tokyo, Japan, still reigns as the most populated urban area in the world, with over 35 million inhabitants. The next largest urban areas include Mexico City, Mexico, 18.7 million, New York, Newark. United States, 18.3 million, Sao Paulo, Brazil, 17.9 million, and Mumbai, India, 17.4 million.
How was the Delmarva Peninsula named?
The Delmarva Peninsula, located on the east coast, contains all of Delaware and portions of Maryland and Virginia. The 180-mile, 290-kilometer, long peninsula was named by combining the abbreviations of each of those three states: Del, March, and VA.